Hello friends. Today we are going to learn about the characteristics of the romantic age. In this video you will look at the characteristics between of romantic age, the difference between romantic poetry and neoclassical poetry, which is also known as Augustan age poetry, and the time period between the revival and romantic age, the revival of romantic age, the establishment of the lyrical ballads by S.T. Coleridge, and some of the great features of romantic age. So here we go with this video. First of all, going further, let's have a look to the difference between neoclassical poetry and romantic poetry, which is one of the main key point of our topic, right? Now if we look at neoclassical poetry, the difference is here strict structure is actually used. Rigid rules and regulations are the main part of neoclassical poetry. Basically it is inspired by the classical writing of Roman and Greek literature, the Latin literature which was written at the Greek time. The same structure and the rules and regulations are followed in neoclassical poetry. The main ingredients over here is wit, intellect, and metaphysical conceits. Now, what is wit? Wit means satire. In Hindi, if I say Vyang, Kataksh is used. Intellect. What is intellect? Intelligence. Showing off of their knowledge is one of the main purpose of their writing. And the third one is the metaphysical conceits. Metaphysical conceits are the unusual comparisons. Hyperbole is used there. Exaggerations are used. Over exaggerations are used. Use of the three unities: action, place, and time. All the three unities are used properly. Prosody, accurate meter, the things which we learned, iambic pentameter, trochee, spondy, all this are used over here. Here it describes the lives of aristocrat lives. Aristocrat life means the noble man, the upper class life, and their objective in they are objective in nature. It means they have an object, they have a purpose to teach, to write, that is to preach and instruct. And thus they are superficial and artificial in nature. They are just superficial, they are not real, they are not emotional, they are not in from the heart. It works only through the mind. Whereas romantic poetry is completely contradictory to each to this one. Why? Here, romantic poetry of romantic ages, loose writing, flexible in nature. It do not have particular rules or regulations as it was in neoclassical poetry. It is very much soft. It do not have any rigid rules. It talks about the common man. The main ingredients of our romantic poetry is creativity, imagination, and emotions, feelings. Free verse is used. There is no particular heroic couplet or kind of particular structure to be used in romantic poetry. It can be written anytime, anywhere, and it is subjective in nature. Subjective nature, it doesn't mean it has some purpose. It is kind of when a poet or author actually just describe his or her personal experiences. It is for giving delight, pleasure, but pleasure here means poetic pleasure. Common life depiction is there, easy in language. The language is not very hard or complex to understand. It is very regional, it is very common language which is understandable by all the common people. So this was some of the characteristics of the romantic age and difference between neoclassical poetry and romantic poetry. Now going further, here we will know about what actually romantic age is. The romantic age period was 1785 to 1832. The five main pioneers or the authors of this age are William Wordsworth, Samuel Coleridge Taylor, P.B. Shelley, John Keats, and our Lord Byron. Now, here comes what this romantic age actually was. Romantic age is love for the nature, worshipping of nature. This actually romantic age is not romance for one another male, female, or gender kind of romance, but it is romance or the love for the nature, to be in contact with the nature, to worship nature, uh, thinking or believing this nature as the creation of God, and being blessed by this sordid boon, this blessing of God, and embracing it. That is romantic poetry, that is romantic age. And revival of romantic age was from the period of 1800 to 1850. And why this revival actually came up? Because of the industrial revolution, new and new industries were developed, because of which the interaction of human beings with the nature was somewhere going away. People were going away from this natural life to the materialistic world, luxurious world. They were involved in businesses, in manufacturing, in production, in establishment of new factories, cutting of the trees, forests. The natural things were cut off and were kept away from the people. And thus this revival of romantic age came up to again make people realize about the beauty of this nature, worshipping of this nature. And thus the special emphasis was humanitarianism, fraternity, equality, liberty, freedom of individual. The lyrical ballads was actually a collection of poems which was given by William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge. This was a collaborative work of both of them, which was published in 1789, and it has the poems on birds, marines, then landscape, nature. And this is considered as a key work of a romantic age. William Wordsworth also gave a very beautiful definition, that is, poetry is a spontaneous overflow of the powerful feelings. It takes its origin from the emotions recollected in tranquility. What it means? Poetry is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Poetry is not something which is already there, which actually artificially made up. It is overflow of spontaneous feelings, spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Spontaneous means uh, a very sudden overflow, a very sudden coming up of the feelings, emotions into oneself when you actually relate from something which is already there in your unconscious mind, somewhere into your brain. That is overflow of the powerful feelings. If I say this, one of the best example of William Wordsworth, that is the poem of Daffodils. When he was just on a walk, he saw daffodils and the flowers, the beautiful flowers on the streets, and he just wrote the poem. That was his spontaneous overflow of the powerful feelings after looking at the daffodils, and he created a very beautiful poem. That is kind of, and it has its origin from already the emotions which are there in our somewhere subconscious mind, and when we look at the thing in present, we can relate that memories or that thing which is there in our subconscious mind into our present time. And thus that writing which is that emotions which are penned on the paper is somewhere called as poetry, according to William Wordsworth. Now, some of the features of romantic poem: reaction against neoclassicism. This is very much clearly understood by first of our contradictory discussion about classical poetry and romantic poetry. Emotion are the ingredients of it, so it is also feature of it. Melancholic tone, it is very much emotional. Melancholic tone doesn't mean only sad, but it is emotional. It relates to one's emotion. We can relate our own life, our own experiences with the poet's experiences. Now the fourth one is imagination. Yes, of course, imagination is there. When we imagine something, that time only one can write a poetry. We can imagine anything, any kind of story, tale, poem, any kind of thing. Then comes nature. Yes, romantic is all age is all about nature, worshipping nature, love for nature, the embracement of nature. Supernaturalism. Here, supernaturalism somewhere is said when we actually exaggerate some of the things which are actually not there. When we think that sun is passing from the moon, sun and moon are coming together. How is it possible? Is it possible? No, but it's possible in our imagination, in our creativity. That is supernaturalism. Then comes common diction. Diction is somewhere use of language, use of the words which we use. Here, common diction is used because it's a romantic poetry. It is for the common man, so that the diction is very simple, not so complex that no one can understand, but everyone can understand it. Interest in common man's life. It has the stories or the tales of the common man, middle class, not any particular upper class or aristocrats. And subjectivity, that is subjective in nature. Yes, it is for delight, it is for pleasure. It do not have the objective or the purpose, particular purpose that is to instruct, but it gives pleasure to one's mind, to one's heart. Thus, the Romantic movement was the expression of the individualistic genius rather than the established rules. Thus, it's said that Romantic period, Romantic poetry was giving one's importance to an individual, not to the rules which was actually found in classical writing of the Greek and Roman, but it actually embraced each and everyone's emotions, feelings, and gave importance to each and every individual. Thus, Romantic Age is considered as one of the golden age in our English literature. Thank you. Be updated for more and more videos. If you liked it, please like, share, and comment on it.